Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving right into the Pressure Equipment Directive, or PED. Now, this isn't going to be some dry legal lecture. Think of this as a practical, field-tested workflow for the engineers, the manufacturers, and the inspectors who are out there actually getting the work done.
So let's start with a question you've probably asked yourself more than once. Why are my projects getting delayed? You know the feeling. Timelines slip, the budget gets tight, and everyone starts getting a little nervous. So what's really going on here?
Well, it's really tempting to point the finger at the notified body and say, they're the bottleneck. But, the truth is, most of the time, the delays actually come from an inefficient workflow on our side and, frankly, a poorly prepared submission. Today, we're going to fix that. We'll show you how to take back control of the process. We've got a really clear plan laid out. We'll kick things off by digging into the certification problem itself. Then, I'll walk you through a 5-step workflow that just works. After that, we'll look at what a perfect submission pack looks like, call out the top 5 red flags that cause delays, and then wrap up with a quick check to make sure it all sticks.
All right, so the heart of this whole thing is a proactive 5-step workflow. And the key word here is proactive. This is not about reacting to problems after they happen. It's about getting ahead of them. It's designed to put you, not someone else, in the driver's seat of the certification process right from day one.
Okay, so here they are, the 5 crucial steps. Number 1. Confirm if you even need a notified body in the first place. 2. Engage with them early in the process, not at the last minute. 3. Build a clean, complete, and professional submission pack. 4. Manage their comments with hard evidence. And number 5, prepare for that final assessment and any ongoing surveillance. Your very first action, and maybe the most important one, is to figure out your equipment's category. You're going to do this using Article 13 of the PED and the classification charts you'll find in Annex II. Now, this category depends on a couple of key things, like the fluid group, is it hazardous or is it not, and the stored energy, which is basically a function of pressure and volume or size.
And this classification, it's absolutely key because it links directly to what are called the conformity assessment modules in Article 14. For instance, if you're in Category I, you might only need Module A, which is basically a self-assessment. But for Categories 2, 3, and 4, the rules get stricter, and you absolutely have to involve a notified body. Getting this right at the start, it's non-negotiable.
Proactive management is the name of the game here. You want to engage that notified body early with a scope that is crystal clear. And then, when they come back with comments, and they will, don't just send a quick email reply. You need to respond with traceable, documented evidence for every single closure. You have to maintain strict revision control. That's actually part of your obligation under Article 6.
Throughout this whole process, your job is to provide proof. And you do that by building your submission pack. That's the technical documentation required by Annex III. Then, you get ready for the final assessment. And remember, under Article 14, the notified body has the right to show up for unexpected visits to witness testing or inspect equipment. You've got to be ready for that.
Okay, now we get to the most tangible part of the process, building that perfect submission pack. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you prove your case. And the difference between a good one and a bad one is, well, it's night and day. On one side, you have a good submission, a complete, professional file that's clean and under revision control. On the other side, you have a rejected one, and that's often missing the fundamental hazard analysis, or it's full of drawings that don't even match what was built, or it's totally lacking material traceability. So what exactly goes in this pack? Well, you need a general description of the equipment, of course. Then all the design drawings and the calculations that prove its strength. You absolutely need that hazard analysis from Annex I that shows you've thought about and mitigated the risks. You'll also include material certificates, qualifications for procedures like welding, and qualifications for personnel doing things like non-destructive testing or NDT, and finally, you top it all off with your test reports and the instructions for use.
Now, let's talk about the top 5 reasons a submission just completely fails. If you can avoid these common mistakes, believe me, you will be way ahead of the game.
These right here, these are the project killers. Number 1, picking the wrong category or module right from the beginning. 2, handing in an incomplete technical file, especially if that hazard analysis is missing. 3, a vague scope that just leads to arguments later. 4, poor traceability for your documents and materials. And number 5, simply failing to design your equipment according to all the essential safety requirements, the ESRs in Annex I.
All right, time for a quick knowledge check. Let's see if you can nail the key details in these next few questions.
Question 1.
What are the two main factors that determine your equipment's PED category? I'll give you a second. The answer is the fluid group, is it hazardous or not, and the stored energy, which comes from the pressure and volume or nominal size.
Okay, next up. According to Article 6, for how many years do you have to keep all that technical documentation? The answer there is 10 years after the equipment has been placed on the market.
And a final one, true or false? Equipment that's designed to sound engineering practice must have a CE mark. And that is false. Article 4 is very clear. SCP equipment must not bear the CE marking.
So let's just recap the big takeaways here. First, those delays, they're almost always caused by your workflow, not the notified body. Your first and most critical action is to classify your equipment correctly. From there, your mission is to build a complete, traceable technical file, manage the whole process with clear evidence, and always designed to all the essential safety requirements.
You know, it really all comes down to this. A smooth certification process doesn't just happen by chance. It's not luck. It is the direct result of a disciplined and proactive workflow. This isn't just a nice-to-have, it is the single best tool you have for a predictable, successful PD certification, every single time.
Thanks so much for watching. In our next explainer, we're going to dive into what happens after you get certified, your market surveillance duties under Chapter 5 of the directive. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one.